Good evening, race fans. Welcome to round 6 of the Flux Motorsport GT3 Championship. I'm your host, Murphy, joined alongside with the console, aka Alex, and we're here at Willow Springs in the Mojave Desert, just outside of West Rosamond. And it's going to be a hot one despite the winter weather up in the hills of the Mojave. As the driver's just getting out onto track, we can give you a little bit of info just from the practice session. Blank-File topped out that session with a 1 minute 14.679, so we're looking at pretty quick laps here from the GT3 drivers. However, trying to get the consistency is going to be punishing for them in the 45 minutes worth of race that we've got ahead of us. Whilst the drivers are on their out lap, let me introduce my co-commentator for the evening. Alex, how are you doing?
Good evening, Murph. Thank you for having me. What a treat we're going to be in for this week. We thought last week was good in the GT3s. I think this is going to be something really special, a complete curveball of a track for a lot of these drivers. A lot take a distaste to it, to be fair. Bruce is known to have this track as an absolute art enemy of his. And a couple of new faces in as well. We've got Taijo back as another reserve, filling in for Cobra Plays, and OGR Cat Guy, who's currently sitting at the top of the leaderboard on our screen here, also making his Flux debut, so the pressure is definitely on for him. But no, this should really mix the table up. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
me too. It's one of those sort of tracks where probably more suited to the smaller out there, although we are in America, you know, it suits the sort of stock car touring car. GT3s is going to be real quick, as we can see with the lap times as well, 1 minute 14s. I don't think that the race pace is going to be in and around that. The guys are going to ease off ever so slightly, but it's going to be quick inside these cars. And as we see as well, over to OGR, it looks as though we've got another AMG out on the field, so it's actually becoming more of a rarity now to see the AMG. We've had a big mix-up in cars. We were just focused on Taijo, who was a reserve driver last week. Actually did pretty well in that running, but he returns in the M6, and OGR now featuring in that bright green AMG as well. Immortalis, the only one to set a lap so far as the drivers go out on their out laps. 1 minute 25 from him. I think that's an out lap time, so not really yet to set a quali lap. I think practice has been low on the agenda for some of these drivers. Immortalis was saying that he hasn't had much time on track, as we see Green Gaming, and it looks as though most of the lap times are now coming in. These will be pace set laps from TTB Giacomo, 1 minute 18.873, just beaten by Old Smoky, and then Survivor comes in with a 117.723. And here are your front runners now, starting to get their laps in. Blank-File currently in pole position, 1 minute 14.617. Fast AF Gamer on a 1 minute 14.675, so less than a tenth, in fact, nearly half a tenth. Away from that current pole position time. Let's have a little look over to a Cat Guy as well. We saw in the practice session that he was, what was he, a few tenths down from Blank-File, I think, Alex?
About half a second by the end of practice, so a good first showing. And whilst we're talking about new drivers, so I've just seen the black Nissan in there. We've also got Helectic. That's going to be a nice tongue twister for you to get round, Murph, who has joined the grid. He's taken up a full-time seat for the last couple of races and opted for the GTR Nissan. So, interested to see what you can get around with that. I know it's got a whopping great big turbo, and it's rumoured to do quite well around here, so we wait and see.
Yeah, you can imagine it would, really. High-altitude track, sort of sweeping bends tend to suit the GTR. Ooh, maybe not so much as we just see in the background there.
We need to stop talking about drivers, Murph. This is getting. I think we've had it all in at least every race, every driver we've mentioned has then had a crash.
I think it's just encouraging them to do a little bit better next time. But yeah, maybe we need to stop mentioning names. But yeah, we'll see what comes in. I mean, it looks as though that's an outlap time at the moment from Electric, 1:25, but we'll wait and see how that progresses. Tyjo yet to set a lap, as with Dr. Potford. Now, let's keep our eye out on Dr. Potford as we run down the standings. So in the top of the championship so far, Blank-File on 161 points with 3 races to go. It'll be 2 after tonight. Then BruceLaw in second place on 152 points, just 9 points away at the moment. And then this man in his yellow Ferrari, Dr. Potford, 119 points, 42 away from Blank-File, which means that it isn't completely out of reach, but it is just starting to lose that edge, as we see in there. Just losing control. I think that was into... Was it coming out of turn 4, maybe?
That's turn 2, that one. So that's just on the entry to Rabbit's Ear. I think we're going to see a lot of accidents there as well. Turn 1, or Cashel Corner is called into Rabbit's Ear, which is turn 2, is long sweeper. I suspect we're going to see a lot of accidents here. This track is an absolute tyre heater. Where you come round the back fast right-hander, the sweeper, out the final corner, your tyres have been loaded up so much, there's so much heat in them, that by the time you get to turn 1 and turn 2, they haven't cooled down enough, so the grip just isn't there, not like the you'd be expecting it to be. So turn 1, turn 2, I expect to see a lot of guys have wobbles and big moments coming into there. Definitely a spot to keep an eye out for.
It's I think we mentioned it last week at Sonoma as well, with the sort of curves. You know, some of them you can get away with, some of them you couldn't at Sonoma. Here, you don't want to touch the curves.
There are none. It's dirt.
You touch those curves, they're so thin and they're angled so steeply as well that generally your wheel's going to go on the other side of the curb. You're going to get into grass and then you're going to be facing the wrong direction momentarily. And you can see here the ridges just on the side of the track. It's almost carved out of a hillscape here, and yeah, it tends to go big when it goes wrong. You'll quite often see cars getting air. You'll see, bits flying off. There'll be blood, pus, the lot. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. This is the corner. Sorry, just as we see Dr. Potford going round, that's the one where if you get your outside tyres on that other edge, it's going to flip you up that bank, turn you round, and then spit you into whoever else is coming up your rear. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
A lot of the problem I find when I crash on this track, which is a lot, is through this corner that we just see Blank-File going through. You clip the dirt and you just slide off into oblivion, and there's nothing you can do, but there's not a wall or anything to stop you for a long time. So you find yourself almost back in the car park, lost and behind barriers, and it's an absolute mare.
You can come back with an ice cream though, so that's always nice. So it looks as though we're now sub 114 with Blank-File, who are currently focused on the screen. He's still out on another lap, the Belgian, almost flying his national colours in that Pirelli Z4, and he looks to be dominating the rest of the field at the moment. Fast AF Gamer is currently half a second behind. We've got OJR as well, which is a cat guy, currently 0.6. Looks as though we've lost a driver as well. I did see a little glitch a little earlier on, so that suggests that somebody may have just got disconnected. Luke Snipes, hopefully he'll be able to get back in. There's 11 minutes remaining, so there's plenty of time. Fingers crossed for that one.
And that would be a real shame if he doesn't make it back, because I believe he's hanging on to 4th in the standings, which is above and beyond. At the start of the season, he's telling us that he wanted to end up mid-pack and mid-group for the season, and to hang on to 4th with the kind of talent that we've got in this grid is a monumental achievement for him.
I mean, he's in and around some pretty decent company as well, really. We've got, as mentioned before, Blank-File, BruceLaw, Dr. Potford above him, but then Linga Bazinga, Fast AF Gamer, and Snarling Bongo, 3 places below. Now,
none of them slouches.
Quick drivers. yeah, some pretty quick drivers. I mean, we haven't seen. I don't think we've seen any podiums from Linga. I'm just bringing up the results here, which is quite surprising. Oh no, sorry, I beg your pardon. We did have a second place finish at Indianapolis, but he's always consistently quick. He's always up there. I think his worst position actually was in round 2, Circuit of the Americas. He had a bit of a mare there, but yeah, the Dutch contingency inside this GT3 Championship with Snarlin Bongo and Linga Bazinga very quick indeed. So Luke will be happy to be in and around that company. He's just going to have to make sure that he gets himself back into this lobby. 9 minutes and 30 seconds remaining, and there we see Blank-File catching a little bit of dirt on exit, and that's how wrong it can go, and it can be so hard to get yourself back on track as well. Let's have a look over to BruceLaw in the Mercedes SLS at the moment.
So Bruce has been very vocal about how much he doesn't like this track, so it would be exciting to see how well he whips this Mercedes around this track.
Well, we've been racing with BruceLaw now for around about 2 years, through a couple of incarnations, through the Rubbins Racing days and through Flux Motorsport. And from those very early memories, the main thing that sticks with me is the guy loves setups and the guy hates Willow Springs. He really, really hates this. There aren't many tracks that you'll find seem to unnerve him, but yeah, this is the one. And to be honest, he's doing pretty well at the moment. 1 minute 14.8. I don't think it's the track itself. I don't think that's the part that he really doesn't like. I don't think he's its biggest fan. The actual layout. I think what it is the 2 points that we've mentioned, whereas it's so easy to go wrong, as we see him there, almost losing it after touching the curb, and there it is. That's what happens when you get on the curb, folks. So yeah, it's when that happens. But not only when that happens, during a race, when that happens, you're either running off into the middle of the desert, or you're finding yourself getting spun back round, back into the track, and in a whole world of pain. In fact, just went on to Blank-File then briefly. Let's focus on Fast AF Gamer at the moment and see how she's doing out on track. It's looks to be a bit of a coaster. Looks as though that is some tyre saving measures going on there. If I flip down, we can have a look. 6 gear, just literally cruise controls on. Sip of the coffee from the coffee cup holder. You can change the radio station, and I'm pretty sure we'll soon see it dripping down into third gear, and then hoon time.
That'd be an aircon adjustment lap.
yeah. Get some heat out of the car quick, and aircon off, and there it is, power enabled once again round the final bend. Of course, keeping those temperatures low, and it must be a run on the softs for Fast AF Gamer. Trying to feel the benefit for I'm guessing only lasting for a couple of laps. I've not been able to check out the track temperature, which is a bit of a pain just due to the information that I've got on my screen. It's always interesting to know, but I'm assuming it's pretty damn hot. Yeah, we might be in winter here in the Mojave, but end of the day, we're in the desert. It's going to be pretty toasty. Remember, folks, all of our races are at 1 o'clock, and welcome back. I can tell from the jitter to Luke Snipes. Looks as though Luke has made it, which is good to see. But yeah, all of our lobbies are simulated start times of 1 o'clock for the race, so it's currently it's probably around about 12:30 midday here at California on the 6th of December, so it will be the actual date that's set, and the race will begin at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so that's going to pretty much be the midday sun, albeit through winter it's going to really hot up. The BMW M6 expected to do well because of its turbocharged engine. Doesn't look as though it's holding the naturally aspirated Z4 back though.
Look at that, just one tenth off of Blank-File. So Fast AF is finding some pace from somewhere. Just needs to find just that little bit more. As you said, Murph, maybe managing those soft tyres for one lap. They won't do the race, but they might get a couple of qualifying laps in, which could just be enough. Although thinking about it, I believe we'll have to see when we go to the grid. I believe second has the inside line into turn 1 on this track. So it might be a little bit more advantageous to maybe sit tight for fast AF, depending on what Cat Guy's going to do behind him.
Yeah, it is an interesting one into turn one. You can pretty much get brave up the inside, provided that whoever's on the right hand side gives you plenty of room. You are going to be compromised going into the next corner, should anyone sort of cut back to adjust that line. For instance, if somebody is ahead of you on the position, if they go to take their particular line, they're going to come up in front of you and you might have to back off. But if you've got the bottle to get through there with minimal braking, fingers crossed, you're going to be ahead into turn two. So just focusing on Immortalis at the moment. Immortalis actually absent last week, couldn't make it, I believe. And that's seen him drop down into 8th in the standings, which is quite surprising. Currently residing on 70 points, so he's 8 points behind Snarling Bongo, and he's got quite a gap of 21 points ahead of Giacomo in 9th place. So TTB Giacomo looks as though he's currently not in the lobby either, so that's going to be a big bit missed, and it looks as though Luke Snipes is definitely suffering from internet issues. I've just seen a message pop up on the Discord server at the moment apologising for that, and really not happy, but such is the way, unfortunately. Every now and again it just seems to get absolutely stiffed by the internet connection.
And it looks like Giacomo is saying that he's got DQ'd for spinning out, which would be why he's not on the grid. Hopefully they still let him start at the back, and it's not a complete disqualification for the event just from the session. So that'll be where he is.
Yeah,
at the ice cream van.
Will usually, he's currently the ice cream man getting himself cooled down. But Blank-File continues to lead the charge here, pole position with 3 minutes remaining.
So 3 minutes remaining. The Cat Guy's still in the pit, so I think if he leaves now, he might make it for 1, maybe 2, if he's really lucky, fast lap. So it could be that Cat Guy's done for the session, is happy with that. Bruce Taijo sitting right behind him, so they'll be looking to nab that off him in the final stages.
There's not much in it, is there really? 2.5 tenths or so between BruceLaw and Taijo to be able to leapfrog over OGR, so it's a Cat Guy, should I say. I think 1 minute, I think about 1 minute 30, 1 minute 40. It's a really short pit lane here at Willow Springs, isn't it? So I think 1 minute 30, 1 minute 40 out lap, that's going to be the final cut-off. And you can see there that pit lane is very short indeed, very uncharacteristic of an American track, but it isn't an oval, so that explains why. And Blank-File still managing to get in and around. It looks to be consistent under 114s in qualification pace. I do not expect race pace to be anything like this. Fast AF Gamer with just under 1.5 tenths to try and get onto pole position. Let's have a look over to Taijo in the other M6 as well. I think the young Filipino will be really happy to get back out onto the grid and have the availability to race once again within the GT3s. Know that he really enjoyed it last week out, and take that BMW M6 out for another spin. It looks to be going really well for him as well. 5th place at the moment, 9 tenths off the lead, and that's not a bad showing really around what is a very, very tricky track. Not sure how much time he's had to set this one up, but I'm sure that he would have been working alongside Fast AF Gamer, trying to tweak that setup. And you can see, just have a look while the speedo's on, look how smooth he is at the transition between braking and acceleration. It's great to see. Don't forget Taijo is actually a pad player, but have a little look at this as we come into turn 1. Hopefully he doesn't show me up. That smooth transition between braking and throttle, it's probably where he gets so much control from. And I've been racing with Taijo now for quite a long time, formerly in the RR Formula Renault days, and the improvements that I've seen from him over time have been, absolute leaps and bounds, and now getting himself up and amongst the top sort of 6 drivers of what is a very, very competent field. So, well, 3 seconds remaining inside this session now. Blank-File is out on track. He is in pole position. Fast AF Gamer not too far away. Looks as though Blank-File just coming around the second to last corner now. And then into this very tricky apex right, which just sort of sneaks up on you. You've got to be able to take that one right, otherwise that happens. We see Blank-File getting a little bit wrong. That's potentially going to be a slowdown and therefore invalidating that lap. Oh, all eyes on Fast AF Gamer then. Looks as though that's coming out of Monroe Ridge. Oh, and it's all gone wrong on the final lap there for Fast AF.
So actually it's going to come down to Snarling, if Snarling's on a lap. I think he's the last guy on track. No, he's...
That doesn't look like a lap, does it? We've got Green Gaming also out on a lap. That looks as though it is still one. Just coming around up to the second to last now. What a dreadful looking car. I probably shouldn't think out loud, but my word, it's awful.
It's very boxy, I think is the word.
I'm a fan of a boxy car. It's when they've tried to put angles on it that it all goes wrong. But this is the running order for today's race here at Willow Springs International at the Big Willow. So it's Blank-File on pole position, Fast AF Gamer alongside him, second place on the grid. A cat guy coming straight in on the debut. American driver, American track. This could well be synonymous with one another. I don't know why on my screen it's currently showing up as Willow Springs International being within the UK. It is not, ladies and gents. We don't have that sort of climate or landscape around us. BruceLaw rounds up the second row of the grid. Taijo 1212 did very well there to get up into 5th place alongside Dr. Potford in 6th. Immortalis down into 7th place. So he actually got knocked down by Dr. Potford in the late stages of that qualification session. Snarling Bongo alongside Immortalis in 8th position. Then Linga Bazinga in 9th with Survivor in 10th. TTV Giacomo will start from the back, I believe, or at least we hope so, because he was disqualified from that session, although it is looking as though it's registered a time, so that'll be interesting to see. Green Gaming in 12th place with Electric in 13th and Old Smoky making up the back of the grid. Let's get this underway then. 2 minutes worth of Tinker Time, get those race strategies plugged right in, and then we'll be all set for all of the action on track. Let me know your predictions, where you're watching it from, and also let me know if you think that the championship is a done deal, or are you expecting anything to be mixed up off the back of it. I'd love to know your opinions. And if you're watching this for the first time, don't forget you'll be able to watch and catch up with all of the races within the GT3 Championship or any of the other championships that are broadcast here on the Flux Motorsport TV channel just by clicking on the playlists within our homepage. You'll find all of our different championships there from Season 2, which is our current season, and of course from Season 1 that preceded it. 1 minute and 4 seconds left of Tinker Time here. And what are your predictions for this one, Alex?
It's going to be really hard to call. As we said earlier, I expect it to be a decent amount of chaos to happen before we get to the end. I'd like to see Cat Guy do well coming in on his debut American track. And putting in a good finish is always nice to see. I'll be interested to see how Snarling and Linga get on. They're sitting a little further back than they're probably used to in 8th and 9th. And if they keep out of trouble and the front runners get a little bit sort of argy-bargy, they'll be able to make up some time. And obviously we've got TTV, got disqualified from quali, but it looks like he's been managed to hang on to 11th, so he'll be looking to get a good bit of overtaking done as well. Really, it's anyone's. It's impossible to call, really.
I'll be surprised if Blank-File's outside of the podium. However, I'm gonna probably go for Fast AF for the win. Something
you've
about
said it now.
That bigger M6, but yeah, that could be the commentator's curse. I really hope it's not going to be after a frantic few races, but here we are underway now at Willow Springs, and it was a great start from Fast AF Gamer, really jumped the lights here, so finds himself on the outside of the circuit, which is not what we were expecting, but there we go, romping into first place. Blank-File in second with BruceLaw in third, and it looks as though Dr. Popford there getting caught up with a cat guy, and they're going to drop right down the grid. It looks as though OGR is managing to stick in it, or is he? Yeah, in and around 8th place. Dr. Popford also within 9th place, but a bit of a coming together there between the two drivers. And oh, it looks as though that is Green Gaming in the Cadillac taking a big spin in lap 1. That sees him all the way down into 14th place, and a big catch-up to go on with. We see Blank-File now piling on the pressure, only halfway through this very short circuit onto Fast AF Gamer so far. eMotorsports also looking up and around the inside of BruceLaw in the Ferrari too. All go here at Willow Springs, and there's plenty of action going on. Looks as though TTV Giacomo has retained his 11th place that he started with. Electric is in 12th with Survivor, and Green Gaming in 13th and 14th place. Looks as though, oh, we see a big spin there from BruceLaw, and look how far he's gone. That's going to be pretty hard to recover from, and it's allowed Taijo now to move up into 4th place. But being challenged pretty hard by Linga Bazinga at the moment. Just coming into turn 1, Linga around the outside. Is he going to stick away from the dirt? Looks as though he has, so he's now got the inside into the rabbit ears, turn 2, and Taijo manages to hold off those big angry sounding AMG. Look at them, 3 of them.
That is a gaggle of AMGs, yeah.
So Fast AF Gamer continues to lead the circuit here. Blank-File and eMotorsports are really putting on the pressure. I think we just saw a car go as well. Who was that? Is it Snarling Bongo?
It looks like it is, yeah, dropping down the grid.
Dropping down the grid massively. Old Smokey's Porsche was still out on track. It was a different blue car, and it was an AMG. And here we go, look at the amount of pressure Fast AF Gamer is currently under from Blank-File, and eMotorsports just waiting in the wings, hoping to pick off the spoils from this. We'll jump into the cockpit of eMotorsports, get a great view of this. Coming down now into the final turn, it looks as though Blank-File's putting a move in, and it might have just cost him 2nd place as eMotorsports moves up the inside. Are we going to see a move up the inside as well into the current race leader? Doesn't look as though he does. It backs away from that one, eMotorsports, and as Fast AF Gamer just spins. Didn't see any clipping of the curb or any dirt. It looked as though the tyres just let go and maybe pushing just that little bit too hard. Fast AF Gamer now in 5th position, so eMotorsports leads the race ahead of Blank-File. Taijo in 3rd position now, with Linga Bazinga in 4th, not too far behind. Dr. Popford in 5th, which is good going considering that coming together with a cat guy who's currently in 9th position. Fast AF Gamer back on the track, we can just see there in the rear of the screen. So, we predicted it, Alex, it's...
We both said it, and look what happened.
Non-stop action here at Willow Springs. And,
I mean, I want to give my next thoughts on the race, but I don't want to ruin it.
Oh, Linga's going off, and he's going off big. Look at him, he makes collision there with the fence. He's got a long way to get back on that dirt. Looks as though there's going to be a bit of damage. Oh, and there it is. It's all gone horribly wrong for the Dutchman, now in 10th position, and that is how much Willow Springs can hate you when it really wants to. eMotorsports now though leading the race. Blank-File close up in 2nd in that Pirelli Z4. Taijo now 3.6 seconds or so back from these two. You can just make out his BMW M6 in the background there. Dr. Popford now in 4th position after that spin, and Fast AF Gamer in 5th. But Fast AF Gamer's got TTV Giacomo for company just behind, so there it is, Giacomo's R8 there. I'm sure the Giacomo mob will be very happy to see that, and currently looking to potentially score some big points here, as you see Old Smokey there going a little bit off-road. That Porsche is certainly not made for that, and looks as though it hasn't cost him too much. He's managed to keep his car facing the right way at least, and if he has lost speed, it hasn't been much. Linga Bazinga into the pits after his collision with that rather innocuous looking fence in the background. Trust me folks, it does a lot of damage when you clip it.
They don't build them like that anymore.
Yeah, they really don't, and there's nothing that you can do when you have an off at that particular place. You're not just a passenger heading towards that little teeny tiny fence. But it's shredded his AMG, it seems, as he's still in the pits. So he's going to find himself at least a lap down, maybe a little bit more, as we see another pit crew looked as though it was rushing out. So we could see another driver coming into the pits come the end of this one. Maybe it was Linga Bazinga's pit crew exiting the car, not too sure. But let's have a look at some of the action that's going on a little bit further down at the moment. So Green Gaming being chased by Survivor. The battle at the back at the moment, 23 seconds, 23 and a half seconds behind the leader, but these two will be duking it out till the very end, I'm pretty sure, which in 39 minutes time, is it going to see Immortalis or Blank-File at the top, or are we going to see as another driver, you know, romping on through after another spin? We'll have to wait and see. 39 minutes is a long amount of time.
I was thinking about this, and if we've seen this before, Blank-File and Immortalis go at it at Circuit of the Americas, and he'll probably hate me for saying this, but Immortalis isn't known for looking after the tyres quite so well.
No, he's a hooligan.
So yes. So I suspect that these two are probably going to have a bump or a shunt at some point, which would mean I would actually fancy Taijo, if he could not fall too far back and stay within a pit stop, or at least within the 10-second sort of range, just enough to pick up the pieces afterwards, he could potentially sort of rob this win from under their noses if they can't keep it clean. As you said, there's still a long race to go, and they are fighting for every inch already. So I'm gonna definitely have to buckle in and keep an eye on this, but I wouldn't rule Taijo out yet.
No, and I mean, Taijo, as you do mention him, maybe not this lap. He's currently showing up as his previous lap with a 117.5, Dr. Popford with a 116.8. So 0.7 loss there for Taijo, but the previous lap he made about that up, around about 0.7. So he's looking in a good position. He needs to just manage himself. My experience of Blank-File before he joined the GT3 Championship was pretty low. I didn't know much about the guy, but since commentating on him, he looks to be one of these really cleverly calculated guys. He seems to know how to set his car up based upon not just the track itself, but also the track conditions that it's under. And he was mentioning previously that he was struggling a little bit under the bright sunshiny conditions that we're currently running under. Doesn't look as though it's hampered him too much, but he's the sort of driver that will manage pace, whereas Immortalis, maybe not famed for him, not saying it's out of reach for him, but
it's all or nothing.
He does tend to push, he does tend to push that car pretty hard, and we've seen it cost him a few times, so maybe he has learned, and maybe he knows the competition that he's up against. Let's have a look at some of the action going on a little bit further down the track. So it looks as though 5th place of BruceLaw at the moment, trying to make gains up on Dr. Potford, but he's got Linga Bazinga currently in front of him in that black and lime green AMG, and also TTV Giacomo not too far up behind either, around about 0.6 or so it seems.
And that's a good recovery from Bruce as well.
Yeah, I was about to say, with a big spin and a big recovery, so I think you're right there, Alex. He found himself, I can't remember, was it around about 10th, 9th or 10th position?
He fell quite a way back, I think you're about right.
So, it's a good recovery. I mean, we expect it, but look at those lap times, 1 minute 15.4. He's pushing that car pretty hard, and he's only going to be able to do that for a certain number of laps here in the desert, until those tyres start to let off.
So, Murphy, it looks like Blank-File has fallen off 6 seconds back from Immortalis now, over 124 his last lap.
Let's have a look. Have we got any damage to the front of the car? Has he got away with it? Camera pans over to Blank-File, but Immortalis now in big, clear lead, 6.5 seconds, and maybe Blank-File was pushing, Immortalis was rolling the dice, pushing Blank-File quite far, and Blank-File has just been unable to make those tyres work. See there, last lap out, a 1 minute 24. Fast AF Gamer is now into the pits. I'm guessing that that's going to have been for damage as well. Fast AF Gamer's last lap out was a 1 minute 27.7, so that suggests another spin and some damage caused.
The championship woes continue.
Most definitely. I knew I shouldn't have said anything. The commentator's curse really does kick in. Saying that, Murphy GBR is going to have a great race in the GT1s on Thursday. Let's see if it works sort of before the race.
Can you book it in?
Yeah, let's see if it says anything. Maybe Lecky will mention my name and it'll cancel out. But yeah, if you want to check out the action from that GT1 race, I will be uploading the latest rounds later on this evening. But check out the action from those old 90s GT cars. Very fun championship to get involved in. Look over now to our new driver with a cat guy. He's put in a pretty good recovery as well. It looked as though he got a bit of a shunting in lap 1. He's found himself in and around 8th place, but he's holding on to it at the moment, and because he is a new driver, not really got the measure yet of what sort of driver he is. Looks as though he's piling the pressure onto Old Smokey at the moment though in that Porsche. It looks as though it's only a matter of time when he takes it, especially based upon the lap times.
So I've only ever raced with Cat Guy in the Indy cars, and he's blindingly quick in an Indy car. Super consistent, manages the tyres really well. So I'm not so sure if he'd done as much GT3 or sort of this style of racing or how well it's going to transfer, but he's definitely making a good go of it on his debut. As you said, after taking a bit of a shunt into turn 1, ended up off the track for a little while and still being able to sit in now 7th place is good hustle.
Yeah, it really is. And Green Gaming now into the pits also. I'm going to assume most of the times it's for damage when we see a high lap time like that. If it's maybe in and around the 120s, it could well be for some tyres if they're getting consistent times of around about that. Let's have a look over though to the battle for 4th place now. Dr. Potford has entered the fray. TTV Giacomo down in 6th place, so he's been overtaken by Dr. Potford somewhere down the line, but Dr. Potford now trying to turn the screw on BruceLaw, and this is going to be pretty interesting. BruceLaw will be desperate to try and hold on to those positions, especially after the sort of mistake being made by Blank-File. You see, Blank-File is losing a lot of time at the moment to iMotorsports, and that'll be music to BruceLaw's ears. BruceLaw has since come away from the lap times that he was setting, 1 minute 15s at some points, but he looks as though he's dropped back now to a 116.5. That will be tyre management. 119 that last time around, so we may have just missed a small mistake from BruceLaw.
I think it was an overtake of Dr. Potford.
Track. I think no, Dr. Potford was behind him throughout all of it. I wonder if it was just a little bit of a step out, maybe, or maybe a little run wide, or perhaps he is just really easing off to let those tyres cool right back down.
In either case, he really needs to get on and get ahead of Tyjo, because Blank-File and Bruce are top of the standings at the minute, and Bruce has a bit of an opportunity here to minimise damage, because even if iMotorsports wins, iMotorsports is too far back to be challenging for the title, so Bruce can still hang on and force the race into the sort of championship into the next race if he can get ahead of Tyjo and narrow the gap between him and Blank-File.
I'm starting to wonder though, I mean he's 5 seconds back at the moment, but depending on what the next lap times are looking like, I think Tyjo won't be too upset for me to say that BruceLaw is quicker around this track than Tyjo. I think that's a fair assumption, but currently the lap times aren't too much of a difference, and I think BruceLaw is really having to manage the hell out of those tyres at the moment. Looking at the lap times that he's putting in compared to where he was when he was really pushing hard to play catch up, I think we're going to see small stints of BruceLaw going for the 115s, low 115s, and it's an amazing ability to be able to turn it on and turn it off like that, to be able to manage the car effectively, but I'm just wondering whether or not he's going to have the time. In fact, it looks as though, just while I'm explaining this, he's maybe proved me wrong. He did just jump into 3 seconds worth of a split to Taijo, and you can just see Taijo on the front of our screen there, just as the camera angle changed, and just make out the BMW M6 as well in the foreground. So it's definitely coming up close. Taijo really does need to get a wriggle on if he's going to hold on to that current podium spot.
And it could have just been the way the track's laid out, but it looked like Blank-File was doing a similar thing to iMotorsports. That gap dropped down to the low 4 seconds, knocking on the door 3. So that could just be the way the track is bunching up and then spreading back out again. But it also could be that Blank-File is managing the tyres, knowing that there's still 30 minutes left to go, and waiting to push when everything's sort of cooled back down and he's backing it. And it's almost like safe to do so. You don't really push him when the car's red hot. Because you're going to spin.
Yeah, after hearing what Blank-File was saying before the lobby started, I think there's a lot of tyre management going on for the cars that require it. Whether or not the guys have got the cars pretty highly sprung, and that's why they need to manage the tyres, or whether or not eMotorsports is also doing some of the same, maybe caught wind of that conversation and might just be backing out ever so slightly. But Blank-File, we'll wait and see whether or not we see those lap times dip down into the 1 minute sort of 14 margin later on into this race, with him really pushing, or whether or not at the moment he's just managing that gap, or perhaps he's he might be driving the heck out of it and still only managing to hold on to the back of iMotorsports. We'll actually flip over now and let's have a look. So iMotorsports at the moment, see if we can see Blank-File in the distance. We can't. So as we go over to Blank-File, we can see they're just ahead of Fast AF Gamer. Fast AF Gamer currently in 11th place with a big recovery drive set ahead. Currently, 16 seconds behind Electric. Way out of view. We're around about a fifth of the racetrack behind.
And a time penalty for the troubles and all.
I can't see the time penalties. Let's have a little look at that as well. Yeah, 2 seconds currently showing up on the screen. Linga Bazinga with 10 seconds. That is pretty painful. That screams speeding in the pit lane, doesn't it, to me? Unless it's just multiple track limits. You see a little flash of the lights there from Fast AF Gamer. I think that's potentially to give Blank-File a bit of a nod that when you come up alongside, I'm just going to give up that position. Don't forget, Fast AF will be getting blue flagged at this point, and this will be the moment we see nice and clean away, and then I'm assuming right back into the slipstream if Fast AF Gamer can get it. And there we are. Almost like I've watched this before.
You've done this a few times, man.
Done this a few times now. Let's have a little look over to Dr. Potford in 5th place. He's still chasing down BruceLaw that you can just see ahead, but also in touch is TTV Giacomo, who...
He's not letting go, is he?
Yeah, he's doing pretty well. I was going to say Giacomo is looking pretty tidy here, and last lap around much quicker than BruceLaw. I think BruceLaw in the ease off mode of his tyre management. You can see there that gap between him and Taijo just creeping up ever so slightly. But yeah, TTV Giacomo doing very well indeed, currently in 6th place, and I think we've mentioned it over a couple of weeks now, and the amount of improvement from Giacomo has been unreal, and really looks as though he's getting to grips with that R8 and keeping amongst the current 2nd and 3rd place within the championship, toe to toe pretty much. Maybe just lost a little bit of time through that sector, but he's there or thereabouts.
And I mean, you can see the improvement. If you went back and watched from race 1 this season alone up to now, the improvements, as you said, have been vast. Bright young future ahead of him. Still a lot to learn. Needs to find a little bit more consistency just to really capitalise on the sort of pace that he can have. And I think once he starts to turn that corner, as we're starting to see now, starting to be able to keep his head for the full race distance, not make any mistakes, we should see him score really good points and get his name back up to the top of the standings where it should be.
You never know. I think we saw his first podium, didn't we, at some point during this season? Going through my results here now, and just
I think it was last week.
was indeed last week at Sonoma, and I don't think it's going to be the last either. It's one of those where certain drivers suit certain tracks within certain cars, and then those moments just seem to completely come together. I know my first victory at Flux Motorsport came that way. It was just a series of unfortunate events for everybody else, but I think it's more than that with Giacomo. It's been consistent improvement, and basically certain tracks he's able to keep the car on the track much better than anybody else. Now, I've got no wood to touch, unfortunately. I really hope that the commentator's curse isn't going to play into this one, but
you've said it.
He's looking pretty good here at Willow Springs, and it's a track that a lot of drivers don't get on with, and he's currently driving the socks off it in 6th position.
And it is one of the best tactics to have, which is you've got to be there at the end to win it, so can't fault it.
Yeah. Slow and consistent will beat fast and erratic. 9
sometimes.
times out of 10. We'll fly back down to 9th now. After 7 seconds gap between Snarling Bongo and the current driver we're focused on with Survivor. Survivor's done pretty well, really, to get up into 9th place. Didn't look as though we had a lot of pace on this one, but he's managed to stick it out in that AMG. Electric 1.8 seconds behind, and Fast AF Gamer as well, around about, what are we looking, 8 to 9 seconds, I think, just behind Survivor. So Fast AF Gamer is going to have to really pull out some work to get realistically within the top 10, with 23 minutes of this race remaining, just about to reach the halfway point. In fact, no, we're just underneath the halfway point here of the 45 minutes of action. And
that looked like Blank-File was at the back of Immortalis. Sorry, Murph.
Okay,
just saw the bottom of the camera there. The Blank-File had caught right up with Immortalis, so either a mistake or some wicked pace put in from Blank.
I think both, to be honest. Looking at that, 1 minute 18.6 from the last lap from Immortalis. Whoa, big spinner there from Survivor. But yeah, the last lap of Blank-File, 1 minute 15.7, is looking pretty quick amongst the rest of the drivers. Fast AF Gamer, the only other one within the 1 minute 16 range, and then a 1 minute 18.6. I think probably a mistake coming out of turn 2 as well from Immortalis has allowed Blank-File right back up there. I know that Team Angie will be pretty happy with that, rooting on the curb clipper drivers, and that'll do wonders for his confidence. Might well put the pressure on Immortalis as well. It's given him a bit of a kick up the arsenal for 1 minute 15.775 that last lap around, so obviously making a mistake and then pushing it hard, and this is where we might start to see tyres letting go, especially with back marker traffic ahead.
Well, this is what I was saying earlier. If Immortalis hasn't managed his tyres and has just been pushing, then he is going to find himself in deep water really quickly. Because as we saw, Blank-File dropped the pace just a little bit, just let everything cool down, got his headband, has been chipping away at the lead every lap. So Immortalis with it all to lose, really, it's on him now.
Just having a look as well, as we navigate this circuit on board with Blank-File at the moment, you can see there's back marker traffic is going to play its certain part in this. It's not the easiest track to get out of the way of, and I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but with even if you were to let go of a lot of pace, moving alongside and still being able to make the corner, we don't expect a driver under blue flags to put themselves off the circuit. We just want them to move away from the racing line, but throughout pretty much the whole second sector and throughout this first sector, it's not the easiest thing to do without potentially causing an accident. Luckily, it looks as though they've now navigated through the back marker traffic, and we see both drivers once again piling on the pace. Just brought up the map there so you can see quite a bit of free space ahead of them now.
And Blank-File is just carrying so much more pace through the exit through turn 9, the final corner, and into Castrol and Rabbit's Ear. and it seems to be that on the exit of this corner that they're going here, which I've just forgotten the name of, that eMotorsports is able to pull out a bit of a gap as they come down this straight now. So this would be the bit where Blank-File needs to work at, get in the slipstream, and make his run up the start straight.
Might just be the difference between that V10 and the little V8 of the Z4 maybe.
You should see it now.
It's a V10 inside that Ferrari, but yeah, let's see if we can see the speed carried. Get in the cockpit. Should be able to see that decreasing. Looks as though eMotorsports has absolutely nailed it coming out of
that would happen now. I've said it.
Oh, big wiggle there though from eMotorsports, and that's going to allow Blank-File to come through. Blank-File actually had to take evasive manoeuvres there. I wonder if there was just a touch of brake. But eMotorsports, that was all tyre. There was, you know, there was a little bit of oversteer from the rear of the car, and that could well be a sign that eMotorsports is pushing it just that little bit too hard. We also saw Blank-File also doing the same. Ooh, he rides up the inside, very close to clipping that big crest.
He's a lucky boy.
He nearly flipped it, didn't he? He really nearly flipped it.
Lucky, as Murph said earlier, you do not want to be on the curbs in any way, shape or form on this track, especially in that section there. It's horrible. Just stay in the middle of the grey stuff is where you want to be at all times.
Blank-File will be a bit frustrated he hasn't been able to capitalise on that. Of course, if he would have tried to capitalise on it, both cars would have been wrapped up in an absolute spin, and then Taijo would have been one very happy boy driving past them both, I'm sure. I mean, he's 22 seconds behind at the moment, so let's not get carried away. If these guys were involved in a spin, I don't think it'd have too much of a dramatic effect. That is actually Fast AF Gaming that you can see in the background. That's also Old Smokey's Porsche that you can see, yeah. Just getting a little bit lost there.
It's left there, mate.
He's not even near the ice cream man. He can't even bring back a
no man's land.
A whipping. Yeah. But eMotorsports leads to Blank-File at the moment. Taijo in third, BruceLaw in fourth place with Dr. Potford right behind. These two have been battling over. In fact, let's have a little flip over to BruceLaw and Dr. Potford. There's nothing in it, less than a second. There has been for a long period of this race. Also, TTV Giacomo ran about an extra second back from Dr. Potford, it seems. So still in here, looking to try and pick the pocket should either of them make a mistake. But let's get right back onto our leaders here. eMotorsports leading the race, Blank-File right behind.
And these final 15 minutes or so is in the previous races is where we've seen it all come together. All the tyre management that's been happening, all the mistakes that were made early on now seem to multiply in these final stages. And this is always the final 15 minutes where we see all the drama. So this is the bit, if you're not watching already, this is the bit you want to come and watch.
Yeah, definitely. This is where a lot of drivers are going to... It's the witching hour, isn't it? Some of the drivers will have been saving the tyres. Now they're going to start pushing. Some of them, you know, maybe have been not managing the tyres, and they're going to start pushing, and they're going to start going all sorts of shapes and sizes. But as we see a big wiggle there from Blank-File just coming out of the exit from that, and that's going to cost him a bit of time. Looks to be around about half a second, and it's also messed his momentum up. I wonder if the Z4's tyres have gone off here, and eMotorsports once again inside that Ferrari looks as though he's going to be able to get the benefit of tyre management. We saw it early on, and we saw Blank-File fall potentially back 5 or 6 seconds, I think it was, and now just in that one lap he's fallen back around about half a second, maybe 0.6 or 7. So it's all action here into the final 15 minutes. Lap 24 just about to begin, and somebody's inconveniently left a bit of a what was it, pit lane entry barrier, I suppose, onto turn 1. Blank-File has kindly moved that away for the rest of the drivers, but hopefully no damage taken from that. BruceLaw is still in 4th place. Taijo's still in 3rd, but Taijo is coming under increased pressure now from BruceLaw, and if he gets under increased pressure from BruceLaw, eventually that's going to allow Dr. Potford and TTV Giacomo also to come on through. We can see that Old Smoky's Porsche parked up, just allowing those other drivers through. That's what we like to see. Good, clean racing etiquette there, not forcing his way back on and causing a huge pile-up. Survivor also doing the same. We can see him, he thought about it, and then he gets himself right back on track and continue his race in 12th place. Looks as though Green Gaming's been the first retirement casualty from this. Wasn't getting on with that Cadillac whatsoever, and looks as though eventually gone to the pits and decided enough is enough. Now the pressure is on, it seems, for Taijo. Sorry, Alex, go ahead, mate.
I was just going to say, obviously the boxy shape not giving the aerodynamic performance needed to perform well at Willow Springs.
It certainly wouldn't be my choice out of the car lineups.
I don't think I've seen anyone pick it. So you know, big props for picking something different and trying something new.
Why not? Why not? But yeah, I think when I think of Cadillacs, I think of Lolos and Lolos and gangsters. Not so much GT3 racing, but somebody's bound to make it work there. Feel free to tell me apart in the comments. Yeah, prove me wrong. I'd love to see it. And if you want to prove us wrong within this championship as we come into 2021 season 1, then remember you need to hit that link. Go to www.fluxmotorsport.com, and in the right hand side of your screen you'll find out how to join this fantastic clean racing community. Also, if you like the content that we see, BruceLaw there, woo, getting really wide.
Good catch.
I think that's, it was a good catch. It's going to come under loads of pressure now from Dr. Potford and TTV Giacomo, though, and that's probably due to tyres. Rear tyres are probably on fire at the moment, so he's going to see BruceLaw's pace maybe ease off ever so slightly.
Taijo will be happy with that one.
Yeah, Tiger would have been starting to sweat in that M6 in 4th place and in 3rd place, looking to try and pick up his podium. And
Bruce didn't fall as far back as Taijo probably would have liked. To see Bruce making a charge now into turn 1, looks like he's got on the outside. Maybe Taijo getting a slowdown penalty out of 9 there, but Bruce going to hang around the outside, which is dangerous. You can clip the curbs on the exit. On his Taijo.
Has gone all sorts of wrong, forces Dr. Potford out into a weird position, and that's allowed TTV Giacomo to come on through. Dr. Potford won't be too happy about that from that re-entry from Taijo. It was a little bit sketchy. Was that contact between the two? Between Giacomo and Taijo. We see Dr. Potford kicking up dirt there as well. It's all gone very messy here in 4th, 5th and 6th position in race 6 at Willow Springs.
It did look like there was a little locating tap there from Giacomo, but that has allowed Dr. Potford to get back through, so everything is righted again.
Yep, definitely. Although I'm sure that Giacomo won't be seeing it that way, and
whilst we're looking at that,
Taijo's got off
Blank-File has taken first.
Has by a margin as well. By quite a margin. I wonder if we've just missed out on a mistake from Immortalis.
See any damage. He's in sort of turn 2 there, so it would have been into turn 1 or maybe the back end of turn 9, the final corner if it was.
The car looks straight. I don't think there's been any dinks on it, but that being said, there's a big runoff in most sections of this circuit, so it may not be carrying any cosmetic damage. Doesn't mean to say it's not carrying any suspension or drive train damage though. But he's still holding, it seems, pretty good pace. He dropped off around about, well, it was 4 seconds. He was ahead by about 0.7 of a second. So he's lost around about 5 seconds this lap. And Old Smoky is done for. We saw him there just losing it on the final bend and then straight away into the pit lane. So second casualty of the day here goes in the form of Old Smoky's Porsche 911. Back over to this battle. TTV Giacomo turning the screw on Dr. Potford. Having a little look up the inside there. That was a risky move, but Dr. Potford just slams that door shut. And it looks to be setting itself up to a pretty good battle. It also does mean that Taijo had made a mistake, perhaps got on another slowdown. We saw that he was getting a little bit leery that last lap around on lap 27, so maybe tyres just beginning to go off. In fact, is that parked up on the side of the road, or is that Fast AF?
It looked like Fast AF was parked up in the middle there, having a great view into turn 1. Turn 1.
He's going to want to try and get himself back out on track as soon as possible. In fact, it looks as though he might well have found it. Was that Taijo? That BMW M6s all look the same from the rear. No, it is Taijo that's behind. So Fast AF does look as though she's back out on track at the moment. 1 minute 19 set, so that could be benefited by Hellectric's 1 minute 34 that last lap around. But Blank-File, let's have a look over to our leader, leading in the Pirelli Motorsport BMW Z4. He's got 4.5 seconds ahead of eMotorsports at the moment. eMotorsports now looks to be securely in second place. BruceLaw is not going to make up 28 seconds worth of deficit, but BruceLaw's done really well to recover from this one. We saw BruceLaw and Fast AF Gamer coming together in the opening stages of this race. BruceLaw has been able to just get his head down and do what BruceLaw does, really, just drive his own race through a lot of it, push when he can push, overtake whenever it's available to him, very calculated drive, and that's potentially going to save his championship contention as we look towards the final 2 rounds of the season. For those of you that haven't seen any of our social media posts, then what are you waiting for? You can keep up to date with all of our news and updates just by going to our Facebook, Twitter or Instagram channels. But the final 2 rounds of the GT3 Championship are going to be Road America next race, with Watkins Glen closing out the season here in the GT3s. So it's going to be very interesting indeed, especially Road America. It's I'm all up for getting proved wrong, but I think it's going to be a struggle for the Z4. Just in my head, in my naive brain of GT3s, I just can't see the Z4 being able to beat a Merc around there easily.
I mean, we said this about a lot of the tracks, and we have been proven wrong at most of them. I think Daytona was the only one where we saw it really struggle, and Road America is, although it's not quite so, the straights aren't quite so long, it is a power circuit. But I think it's because it looks little, we just think it goes slower, and I don't think that's the case. I mean, we can see here today, Willow Springs is an out-and-out power circuit, and it's leaving some of the Mercs behind by about 35 seconds. And that could be down to just the Blank-File's driving ability. Can have the car just tuned, set up perfectly for him. Can take nothing away from him. The guy's a very talented driver, and he shows us week in, week out. But I think you could be right, Murph. I think Road America could be the one where we do see him struggle a little bit. And Watkins Glen as well is a bit like Willow Springs in a way. It is another straight through power circuit. Difference being it's got walls. So the last 2 races maybe not benefiting him, which could maybe favour Bruce if he can get it together.
Yeah, Bruce will be knuckling down, working hard on that one, which is music to my ears for the GT1 Championship, but I don't think it's going to detract. The man from Cheshire really knows how to focus in on his sim racing, and he's currently holding off TTB Giacomo. The reason I switched over the camera is it looked as though he actually lost a fair bit of time at some point. So we've got Giacomo now within the second margin, although that little bit of off-roading is not going to do him too well. That looks as though it's cost him a couple of attempts.
Just tested out the Quattro.
Yeah, just making sure that Quattro system is still functional. Well, although it won't be a Quattro in this, GT3s are definitely rear-wheel drive, aren't they?
Yeah.
All 4-wheel drive is disabled because the Skyline would be the same. The GTR.
He's got a great run out of there, though. Giacomo launching an absolute assault for the final podium position with 5 minutes to go.
to see the lap times starting to getting turned on. Let's go on board actually into the cockpit of TTB Champion. Let's have a look at this.
Right, Murph, don't say it.
I'm not going to say anything. I'll just say that we are currently in the cockpit of Giacomo. Look at how much of a gap they've managed to make up ahead of Dr. Popford, just in that last sort of section of the last lap.
Giacomo doing a really good job, of keeping that the throttle balance through that corner there, carrying loads of momentum into these corners that heavy Merc just doesn't seem to be able to match. But coming onto this back straight here, we should see Bruce be able to sort of get a bit more of a gap in between him. Oh, that's brave.
Just taking a brave line there. Bit of a cheeky one, but he still had 2 wheels on the track, so it's still going to count from Giacomo. We come down this big long drive, and this is just where the Merc will be able to get a slight edge on the R8, I believe.
I think it'll be the Giacomo mob weren't in full force last week, and I think there's a few of them in the watching tonight, so obviously they've made him do it again, which I don't think is very fair. That's rude.
He's got 3.5 minutes to do it at the moment. Giacomo, he's half a second back, but he's certainly making some gains. And it's all gone horribly wrong. Horribly wrong. Commentator's coach catches up once again, and Dr. Popford moves up into 4th position. That being said, I don't think it's going to be a problem for Giacomo. He's had so much more pace than Dr. Popford. I wonder if he's once again tyre attempts maybe have just gotten over him. It looked as though it was under braking, or maybe lift off oversteer going into turn 1, and costing Giacomo pretty badly there. So apologies, Giacomo, and the Giacomo mob if they're currently watching and making effigies of me to burn. But looks as though he's got his work cut out now to try and get his mitts on that podium spot. So lap 34 here of Willow Springs, and looks like a Sunday drive there from is that Fast AF Gamer? Oh, it's Tyjo. And Fast AF Gamer, both out on a Sunday drive it seems. I don't even know what's going on there, but cruising currently.
The heat has obviously got in and has frazzled the mind a little bit, I think.
Yeah, maybe lost a little bit too much waters and salts. Someone's going big off road there. Was it Immortalis at the back? Yeah,
that was it.
It
was
Immortalis. Indeed. Good spot in there, Alex. Very, very off road. That is definitely going to be a slowdown or probably a time penalty slapped on at the end.
Ferrari's not known for their off-roading capabilities normally, but Mortalis seemed to have made that work slightly, not quite as quick as the grey stuff, but hasn't dropped too far back and seems to have got away for it for the most part.
As we enter the final laps then, let's just have a quick look. So Immortalis has picked up a 3-second penalty. I don't know whether or not that was from that little bit of off-roading. Fast AF Gamer with a 2-second, and Survivor with 10 seconds worth of penalty. 14 started, only 11 will finish here at Willow Springs, and it's been nothing but action here at round 6 of the GT3s. And remember, we've got plenty more action coming up into week 7 now of the Flux Motorsport 2020 Season 2 Championship run. First up is going to be the Touring Car Championships, which congratulations by the way, Alex, you crowned the champion
Thank you very
last
much.
week. But that being said, it's still got full pride to play for. You've taken 6 victories out of 6 races. Rapuna Park's coming up next, and it's a tricky one.
I hate that track. I always get lost in the middle section, so I don't hold much hope. That could be the end of this run, I think.
Keep your eyes peeled on the weather forecast for Rapuna Park Raceway in New Zealand. That is going to be set in tomorrow, and you'll be able to join me live from 8 o'clock PM UK time to bring you all of the action within the touring cars. Then we'll be looking over to round 7 of the GT1 Championship, and things are really hotting up within that championship. We're going to go over to Sekito's GP circuit in Japan for that one, and then, as mentioned a little bit earlier on, in the GT3s next week we're going to be looking over to Road America. However, let's focus in on this race and what has been a very, very good race indeed for the Belgian in that Pirelli Motorsport Z4. Blank-File only has 2 more corners to go, and he's going to get yet another victory here in Flux Motorsport's GT3 Season 2 Championship, and that is one step closer to becoming a champion in his rookie season here. And what a season it's been, as he comes across the final corner for the final time and across the line to take that race victory. Immortalis is not going to be too far behind either, and next up in the running for position, it's going to be BruceLaw in the end, or is it? Let's flip on over to that one. Dr. Potford is still right up there in the mix. He's going to have to really turn it on though in the final 4 corners to go here, and to be honest, it's BruceLaw's to lose rather than Dr. Potford's to get a hold of for that final podium spot.
It's going to be a drag race down the start finish. I think Dr. Potford's going to want to focus on getting a really good exit out of this turn 9 here, and just drag racing down to the front, and here we go.
Yeah, Who Dares wins into the final corner. Both of them rolling the dice. So BruceLaw is going to take it, I believe, even if time penalties are applied. Both of them did leave the track at the same place. TTV Giacomo in the end claims a valiant 5th. He'll be happy with that, but he was in with a shout for a podium up until a bit of a spin through turn 1. So here is the final running orders after penalties have been applied. Blank-File takes the victory. Fantastic race from the Belgian. Immortalis in 2nd place with BruceLaw in 3rd. Dr. Potford does enough for 4th place ahead of TTV Giacomo, and Taijo managed to stick it out in the end for 6th position, although we did see him cruising there. I can't wait to hear what went on through that one. Akakai gets a great finish really for a debut race here within Flux Motorsport, and the American showing that he's definitely got some pace. It's just whether or not he's going to be able to get the consistency going into the final couple of races. Snarling Bongo in 8th position with Hell Electric in 9th and Survivor in 10th. So that is round 6. Oh, beg your pardon, I forgot about Fast AF Gamer. The rest of the drivers did retire from it. Fast AF Gamer in 11th place, and she won't be happy with me. I'm sure that she preferred to have been completely missed out from being recognised with that one.
Hidden away.
But the helmet will be kept on, and a brief trip straight to the toilets, I think, for a little bit of a cry in the corner. Didn't go well at all. I think it was all doomed when I said that she was in with a chance of taking the victory, to be honest.
I think next race, or when it comes to the final race, you have to watch it in silence, Murph. We should have a standings position for the commentators of amount of points taken away from other drivers due to commentators' curse. I think we'd be up somewhere near the top.
Maybe we do text commentary for the final race. leave a comment and let us know whether or not that's a good or a bad idea. If you've enjoyed the stream, then please join us again next week, or if you're free on Tuesday, I'd love to see you there for round 7 of the Touring Car Championship. Remember, that'll be me presenting live from 8 o'clock PM UK time. Please adjust to suit your time zones. But that has been it from both myself and the console. Thank you very much for joining me, Alex. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Murph. What a great race. We said it'd be chaos, and I don't think it disappointed. So, can't wait till next week. Really has. So please do sign up to our social media accounts to get all of the latest news and standings to be put out from all of our championships that are broadcast. And other than that, I will see you through into week 7 of Flux Motorsports 2020 Season 2. Enjoy the week ahead. Don't let Monday get you down, and we'll see you very shortly indeed. Thank you and good night.